Hi Best Buds, it's Cathy with Cathy's Garden, and I'm so happy that you joined me today. Today I'm going to show you how I made this easy envelope waterfall flip. Isn't it adorable? Now you could send this out in Happy Mail. You could pop this into a journal, whether it's inside the front cover or maybe in between a signature. It is really easy to make, and what you're going to need is 3 different size envelopes to get that waterfall effect. Now, my largest envelope here is 9.5 by 4 inches. The second one is 6.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And my smallest one is 4 inches by 2 3/4 inches. So I have already prepped quite a bit for this project here. And what I did was I lined the inside of my envelopes with some book pages. And I inked around the edge of front and back of all of my envelopes. The next thing you'll want to do is we're going to need to get a little piece to fit right here on the front part. It's really the back of the envelope where the flap is, but we're going to need to get some kind of decorative piece of paper right here. Now you can use a paper pad, you could use digitals, but what you'll want to do is you'll want to cut a piece, the one that you want to use to decorate that area, for it to fit into your envelope like this. Now, envelopes, I'm pretty sure, are made by a machine, but this side is not always the same as this side. So place your decorative paper face up inside your envelope and take a pencil or a pen, and then we're going to just go around like this. And then when you remove this paper, this is when you take your scissors and you trim this out. Now I like to trim mine out past the line that I made because I want some of that envelope to show. I think that's really pretty, especially if you do the inking, and then it will fit right here on the front of your envelope. Now you can keep this piece and you could pop it right here if you want. A tiny bit might show up when you make it, see right here, but I kind of like the contrast of the flaps being that beautiful coffee dyed color. All right, so then what I did was I inked up my piece. Now I have already done all of my pieces for all of my envelopes. We're going to want to glue these in place like this. So I'm going to use a combination of my glue stick and my art glitter glue, and I'm going to apply my glue onto my little decorative piece that I've cut out. And then I'm going to take my wet glue, mine happens to be art glitter glue, and I'm going to add the glue to the edge just so I can get the edge glued down well. So adding my glue to the edge. All right, and then taking it and just putting it in place. So getting this put down exactly where I want it before I press it down. Alrighty, and I'm going to need to do this to all 3 of my envelopes. So I'm going to actually do that, and a little bit of glue stick on here, and a little bit of wet glue. I'm not shutting my camera off, you guys, so sorry about having to watch me do this, but at least I've prepped and I've cut everything and inked everything, and we're ready to go. Alrighty, I've got that one. Now let's think I'm a little over right here, just a smidgen. I'm just going to trim that up just a little bit. All right, that's a very small smidgen. That's number 2. Number 3, my smallest one. A little bit of glue on the edge. And place it right here. Okay, super cute. Now what I want to do what I want to do is I took some plain coffee dyed papers and I cut them to fit right inside of my envelopes. Now that's what I'm using for my piece of ephemera. So you can journal on all of these. You could write a note to someone on these. It's just a nice way to have a piece of ephemera in your pockets, and maybe you don't have a digital, and then you can just do it that way and make it really nice. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my larger envelope in between or on my grid so I can kind of judge where the center is. So we want it to be face up this way, which is actually the back side of the envelope, and take this envelope here, and I want to make it so it is even, and so there's the same amount here and the same amount here. And I'm going to bring my envelope down just a little bit from the top of the larger envelope. Now I found that it helps if I took a pencil and I just marked here for the top and then here for the sides, because what I need to do is I need to remove this, and then I'm going to have to place my glue on the flap. Now I am going to use my wet glue, my art glitter glue, and placing my glue right within the area in which I have marked with my pencil to tell me where it's going to lay. And then I'm going to take the second graduating envelope and I'm going to place it right where I've made my marks. I just find that to be super easy to do, and then press it down. Now you can go back and you can remove your little marks. You don't have to keep them there because mine do show. So I'm going to remove mine like that. All right, so now we've got our first flip. Just like that. It's super simple, guys. Now I'm going to take the edges of my second envelope, the one we just glued down, and I'm going to place it within my grid and bringing in my smallest envelope. And I want mine to go like this, and I'm just looking at my grid, so I have about the same amount of space. So it's not cattywampus, it's all fairly even. Now if you can do this without marking or using a grid, that's great. I can't seem to do that, so I use my grid and I'm using my pencils to tell me where to place it back after I get my glue on my flap, and then glue it right on there. Okay, so now we have a flip and a flip. Isn't that cool? I just think that is super cool. I'm going to erase here my markings. Alrighty, so next what I want to do is I want to do a little bit of decoration. I have in my dish, I have some heavier looking lace, and I thought maybe here, I think that's what I thought. I worked this up last night. And how about if we put the second one here? I thought I would not put any lace on this one because I really love that pink flower. Let's get this glued down right now. I'm going to be using my Surebonder High Temp Hot Glue Gun, and I'm going to add my glue right along the bottom and then place my lace right here. Now, I'm not going to have it coming over the edge like, I know it's what I thought I wanted to do in the very beginning, but I'm not going to do that because of our closure. We're going to have a closure on here, and if it's past the bottom of the envelope, it won't, your closure won't look very pretty. It will kind of gather up your, whatever it is, your fabric or lace that you have past your bottom envelope. So that's why I brought it up a little bit. Now I'm going to put my little holder here. I'm going to add this piece right here. So once again, I'm going to grab my hot glue gun. I'm going to need another glue stick in here, and adding my glue right across the bottom, and then laying my lace right in here. I'm going to trim my lace off a little bit on either end. So a little trim right here and a little trim right here. All right. Now, let's look at this. I did grab another piece of lace. I kind of thought maybe I'd like to put it right there on the top. I don't know, I just thought that might be pretty sweet. So a little bit more glue right here on the top. And let's pop this right on just like this. Okay, and then I'll have to trim this out. Oh. Goodness gracious. All right, get this trimmed out. All right. Now I have these really pretty sewing appliques, and I'm kind of thinking maybe something like this, just kind of here and there. So I'm going to use my hot glue gun to glue this down. I'm going to put it so it fits underneath that, and I want this one to fit underneath the flap right here on the bottom one, like that. And then this one I like to fit maybe right here, something like that. So adding a little bit of glue. Now I want to make sure I don't accidentally glue. The glue comes through and shuts that flap, so I'm going to glue it like that. Okay, pretty cute. Super cute, right? All right, so next it's time to put our little holder in. I'm looking around and I don't have any sari silk ready, so hopefully this works. Let me grab my sari silk. All right, so I've got my sari silk here, and I have a standard hole punch. I'm going to place a hole right here in the flap of the smallest envelope, and it's up a little ways. I do have a eyelet, and I'm going to pop my eyelet, and I do have a front and back to my eyelet, and my little machine here. Get this popped in here, and then I'm going to squeeze it. Okay, now if you don't have an eyelet, that's okay. You can use a hole saver. That will work perfectly too. I've got my sari silk from Crimson Heart Studios, and let's put it right through the eyelet like this. It's going to go through or not. There we go. Alrighty, and then I'm going to pull this around like this, and let's even it up just a little bit, and let's make a bow. Isn't this cute? I just think these are adorable, and they're so simple, you guys. Super simple. All right, now what I did with my blue one, I won't do it on camera, but I just tied a knot, and then I put my bead on, and then I tied another knot to keep it in place. I'm going to do the same thing to the ends of this one, but goodness gracious, they are super sweet. They're super easy, and I do hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. I invite you to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video. I'll see you there, guys. Bye now.